Diana, Princess of Wales, was one of the most famous women in the world. Born Diana Spencer, she married Prince Charles in 1981 and became part of the British royal family. Beloved for her charity work and her modern, approachable image, she was often called the People's Princess. On August 31, 1997, Diana died in a car crash in Paris alongside her companion Dodi Fayed. The official verdict blamed driver Henry Paul, who was intoxicated, and the chase by paparazzi, but from the first hour, the circumstances invited suspicion. The CCTV cameras in the Ponte Lalma tunnel were not recording that night. Diana's bodyguard, the only survivor, remembered nothing. Ambulances took 70 minutes to bring her to a hospital less than 4 miles away. Autopsy results showed alcohol in Henry Paul's blood, but his family claimed he rarely drank. Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, insisted Diana was murdered to stop her from marrying into his Egyptian family. He alleged Prince Philip ordered British intelligence to stage the crash. While official inquiries rejected this, they admitted security arrangements were inadequate. The persistence of conspiracy theories rests on 3 pillars: missing video evidence, unexplained medical delays, and the fact that Diana herself told friends she feared an accident would be arranged. When a global icon dies young, every inconsistency becomes fuel for conspiracy. On March 15, 44 BC, the Ides of March, Julius Caesar entered the theater of Pompey in Rome. 60 senators surrounded him. Among them were Brutus and Cassius, men he once trusted. They stabbed him 23 times. Officially, it was a patriotic act to save the Republic from a dictator for life. But conspiracy theories began immediately. Cleopatra was in Rome, and some whispered she urged Caesar's murder to protect her own position. Cicero, the famous orator, was close to the conspirators, yet never indicted, suggesting hidden complicity. And the irony, by killing Caesar, they destroyed the republic they claimed to defend. Civil war followed, and within 20 years, Rome became an empire under Augustus. The foundation of the conspiracy lies in this contradiction, an assassination meant to preserve liberty that paved the way for monarchy. Patrice Lumumba, the first prime minister of independent Congo, lasted barely 3 months in office. He took power in June 1960, but his push for full sovereignty angered Belgium, the former colonial ruler, and worried the United States during the Cold War. In September he was dismissed, arrested, and eventually flown to Katanga, a breakaway province backed by Belgian mining interests. On January 17, 1961, Lumumba was executed by firing squad. For decades, the details were hidden. Later declassified, documents revealed CIA plots to kill him, and direct involvement of Belgian officers in the execution. His body was dissolved in acid to erase evidence. The conspiracy here was not rumor, it was real. A blend of colonial revenge and Cold War maneuvering that eliminated a leader too independent for superpowers to tolerate. Grigori Rasputin was a Siberian peasant and mystic who rose to extraordinary influence in the Russian Empire. By the early 1910s, he had become a trusted advisor to Tsarina Alexandra, wife of Nicholas II. Rasputin gained her devotion because he seemed able to ease the suffering of their hemophiliac son, Alexei. Too many nobles and officials, this uneducated holy man meddling in state affairs was a scandal and a threat. On the night of December 30, 1916, a group of aristocrats led by Prince Felix Yusupov and Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich lured Rasputin to Yusupov's palace. According to Yusupov's later account, they served him cakes and wine laced with potassium cyanide. When he showed no effect, they panicked and shot him multiple times. Yusupov claimed Rasputin staggered out into the courtyard before finally collapsing, but the details don't match. The official autopsy found no trace of poison in his body. Instead, it concluded he died from a close-range gunshot to the head. The story of him surviving poison, bullets, and drowning seems to have been exaggerated by the conspirators themselves to dramatize his death. Some historians argue British intelligence agents may also have been involved, fearing Rasputin would persuade Nicholas II to pull Russia out of World War I, a disaster for Britain, since it would free German troops to fight on the Western Front. The conspiracy theories rest on contradictions, a poison that didn't kill, conflicting testimonies, and foreign interests who had as much motive as Russia's nobility. Rasputin's murder became a blend of fact, legend, and political theater, perfectly designed to outlive him. India's Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was assassinated on October 31, 1984 by her own Sikh bodyguards. The official story is straightforward: revenge for Operation Blue Star, the military assault on the Golden Temple earlier that year, yet conspiracy theories quickly spread. Some claimed rival politicians within her Congress party wanted her removed. Others suggested intelligence services knew the attack was coming but did nothing. What followed was catastrophic anti-Sikh riots across India killed more than 3,000 people. Indira Gandhi's death remains both an act of vengeance and, to many, a suspiciously convenient removal of a leader already facing mounting unrest. On April 14, 1865, 5 days after the Civil War ended, President Abraham Lincoln was shot at Ford's Theater in Washington. His assassin, John Wilkes Booth, was a Confederate sympathizer who conspired with several others, but the story has never felt complete. Booth was killed before trial, and some suspects were executed after hasty military hearings. Rumors swirled of a broader Confederate government plot, possibly backed by foreign agents. Lincoln's own Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, faced whispers of involvement because he controlled access to Lincoln's security. No evidence ever proved these claims, but the suspicion lingers. Was Booth really just one actor with a pistol, or a pawn in a larger Southern revenge? Dag Hammarskjöld, the Secretary General of the United Nations, died in a plane crash on September 18, 1961, near Ndola in modern-day Zambia. He was flying to negotiate a ceasefire in the Congo crisis, a conflict tied to copper and uranium mines crucial to Western corporations. Officially, his DC-6 aircraft crashed due to pilot error, but witnesses reported gunfire in the sky before the crash. In the wreckage, Hammarskjöld's body was found with playing cards tucked in his collar, the ace of spades, a symbol often associated with death. Investigations decades later uncovered evidence that the plane may have been shot down by mercenary pilots hired to protect mining interests. The UN itself admitted the official story was incomplete. Hammarskjöld's death remains one of the clearest cases where diplomacy, profit, and conspiracy intersected midair. On the night of March 23, 1801, Tsar Paul I of Russia was murdered in his own palace. Paul had alienated nobles and officers by reversing Catherine the Great's policies, enforcing strict military discipline, and imposing unpredictable decrees. A conspiracy of generals and aristocrats, including Count Paulin and members of the Imperial Guard, stormed into his chambers at St. Michael's Castle. Accounts say he was struck with a sword hilt, then strangled with a scarf. His son Alexander, just 23 years old, was in the palace, and though he denied direct involvement, many suspected he knew of the plot. Officially, the death was presented as apoplexy, a sudden illness, but everyone in Russia knew it was a coup disguised as fate. Paul's assassination marked one of the bloodiest episodes in the long tradition of palace conspiracies that shaped Russian rule. On April 4, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. James Earl Ray, a small-time criminal, was arrested 2 months later. He confessed, then quickly retracted. Conspiracy theories grew because Ray had no clear motive and limited means. He somehow obtained fake passports, traveled internationally, and evaded capture for weeks, beyond the skill of a petty thief. The FBI had spied on King for years, even sending him anonymous letters urging suicide. In 1999, a civil jury ruled that government agencies and organized crime were involved. Though not binding legally, the verdict reinforced suspicion. The theory rests on 3 facts: Ray's unlikely sophistication, the FBI's hostility, and the convenient silencing of America's most powerful civil rights voice. June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, Gavrilo Princip, a 19-year-old nationalist, fired 2 shots that killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie. This single act set World War I in motion. Officially, Princip was part of the Black Hand, a Serbian secret society, but conspiracy theories suggest Austria-Hungary allowed the assassination to happen as a pretext for war. Others argued that Germany encouraged the crisis to justify expansion. The truth may never be clean. What is certain: 2 bullets killed 18 million soldiers and civilians. The assassination remains the textbook example of a conspiracy feeding global catastrophe. At the wedding of his daughter Cleopatra in Aija, Philip II was struck down by his own bodyguard, Pausanias. Officially, it was a personal act of revenge. Pausanias felt insulted by court politics and attacked his king in public, but suspicions arose immediately. Alexander the Great, Philip's son, became king the very next day. Philip's estranged wife Olympias also benefited, as her child now ruled. Ancient sources note that Pausanias was killed on the spot, silencing him before any interrogation. The conspiracy theory rests on 3 facts: motive from both Olympias and Alexander, the convenience of Pausanias' sudden death, and the long tradition of political murder in mass. Historians still debate whether this was a lone act of anger or a carefully staged coup, masked as personal vengeance. November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was shot in Dallas while riding in an open-top limousine. The official story was simple. Lee Harvey Oswald fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. But within 2 days, Oswald himself was killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby, live on national television. That single event planted the seed of conspiracy. The Warren Commission concluded Oswald acted alone, yet its evidence had contradictions. Witnesses reported hearing shots from the grassy knoll. Ballistic tests were inconsistent with the single bullet theory. Even the Zapruder film seemed to show Kennedy's head snapping in the opposite direction of Oswald's rifle. Motive was another puzzle. Oswald's ties to the Soviet Union and Cuba fueled suspicion of Cold War involvement. Polls consistently show that more than 60% of Americans doubt the lone gunman theory. Mafia bosses, angry over Kennedy's crackdown. CIA agents, furious after the Bay of Pigs fiasco. and even Vice President Lyndon Johnson have all been named in alternative theories. What lies at the heart of this conspiracy is a combination of physical contradictions, Oswald's convenient silencing, and the sheer weight of who benefited politically from Kennedy's death. On December 27, 2007, Benazir Bhutto, Pakistan's former prime minister and the first woman to lead a Muslim-majority country, was assassinated while campaigning in Rawalpindi. She was leaving a rally when gunfire and a suicide bomb killed her and more than 20 supporters. The government blamed Islamist militants tied to al-Qaeda, but Bhutto herself had warned that if she were killed, elements within Pakistan's intelligence service might be responsible. Security lapses were glaring. Her car had no proper protection, and forensic evidence from the attack site was washed away within hours. Many suspected Bhutto's return threatened both military rulers and extremists, making her death convenient for more than one side. To this day, the question of who ordered the killing remains unanswered, locked between official denials and conspiracy. On November 4, 1995, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was shot at a peace rally in Tel Aviv. His assassin, Yigal Amir, was a right-wing extremist opposed to the Oslo Accords. Yet from the moment Rabin fell, rumors swirled. Some claimed Amir was aided by Shin Bet, Israel's own security service, which allegedly ignored warnings. Others suspected deeper involvement, a staged assassination designed to derail peace. Autopsy reports, bullet trajectories, and conflicting witness accounts only fueled doubts. Officially, Amir acted alone, but for many Israelis, the truth remains entangled in politics, secrecy, and the endless conflict Rabin tried to end.